I stood in my apartment wearing my silk robe, holding a coffee mug that was still half full. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, warming my skin. Tomorrow was supposed to be my wedding day. I was expecting a delivery, the final alterations to my dress. My phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Trevor, Daniel's best man. Just a link with no message. I clicked it without thinking, assuming it was something about tomorrow's schedule. The screen loaded slowly, then suddenly I was staring at a live stream. There he was. Daniel. My fiancé. Standing at an altar I didn't recognize. He was laughing, holding another woman's hand. The officiant's voice came through my speakers clearly. You may kiss the bride. The mug slipped from my fingers. It shattered against the tile floor, coffee spreading like dark blood across the white surface. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. This had to be a prank. Some kind of sick joke. But the comments were scrolling fast. Real people. Real congratulations. My hands started shaking as I watched him kiss her. Not tomorrow. Today. Right now. The shock turned into something cold and hard inside my chest. I stood frozen, staring at the broken mug, the spilled coffee, the live stream still playing. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Trevor. Sorry, wrong link. 3 words. That's all he gave me. Wrong link. Like he'd accidentally sent me a funny video instead of destroying my entire world. I picked up my phone with trembling hands and replayed the stream from the beginning. I needed to understand. Daniel's smile was genuine. Bright. Happy. The guests were clapping, throwing petals. I recognized faces. Our friends. People who were supposed to be at our wedding tomorrow. Then I saw her clearly for the first time. The bride. She turned toward the camera, and my stomach dropped. It was Serena, my maid of honor, the woman who'd helped me pick out flowers, who'd held my hand when I cried about wedding stress, who'd tried on my dress for fun just last week. They were all there. Everyone knew. Everyone except me. I didn't cry. I couldn't. The tears wouldn't come. Instead, I knelt on the floor and started picking up the broken pieces of the mug. Each shard felt sharp against my fingers, grounding me in something physical when my mind wanted to float away into disbelief. I placed each piece carefully on the counter, then grabbed paper towels to clean the coffee. The methodical movements helped. Wipe. Rinse. Repeat. When the floor was spotless, I finally stood and looked at my reflection in the window. My face was pale, eyes hollow. I barely recognized myself. My name is Harper Lowe, I whispered to my reflection. My voice cracked on my own name. I'm 29 years old. I'm an architect. And tomorrow was supposed to be my wedding day. Saying it out loud made it real. But it also gave me something back. My voice. My name. Myself. I needed to understand how I got here. How I missed every sign. So I let myself remember. Back to the beginning, when Daniel first walked into my life. 3 years ago, Daniel became my manager at Sterling Architecture. I was 26, hungry to prove myself, working late nights on designs nobody else wanted to touch. He noticed. He always noticed. You're talented, Harper, he'd said one evening, leaning against my desk. The kind of talent this firm needs more of. His attention felt like sunlight. He was 32, confident, with perfectly styled dark hair and a smile that made clients trust him instantly. Within months, we were the office's golden couple. He took me to client dinners, introduced me to partners, told everyone I was his discovery. I got promoted to senior designer. My parents loved him. My friends envied me. We moved in together after a year. He proposed at the firm's annual gala, getting down on one knee in front of 300 people. Everyone applauded. I said yes because saying no never occurred to me. That's when Trevor came back into Daniel's life. They'd been college roommates, and Trevor had just moved back to the city. Daniel hired him immediately as business development director. 6 months before the wedding, I pitched a commercial complex design to our biggest client. I'd worked on it for 3 months, perfecting every detail. The presentation was scheduled for Thursday morning. Wednesday night, Daniel looked over my materials. "This is brilliant," he said, kissing my forehead. "We're going to win this." Thursday morning, I walked into the conference room ready to present. Daniel was already there with the client and 2 partners. My designs were on the screen. "Harper, glad you could join us," Daniel said smoothly. "I was just walking Mr. Patterson through the concept." He proceeded to present my entire design as if he'd created it. Every detail, every innovation. I sat frozen in my chair, waiting for him to credit me. He never did. After the meeting, the partners congratulated him. Mr. Patterson shook his hand. "Brilliant work, Daniel. This is exactly what we need." I pulled Daniel aside. "That was my design." He laughed, squeezed my shoulder. "It's our design, sweetheart. That's what being a team means." Later, Trevor found me in the hallway. He leaned close and said quietly, "You really make him look good." After that, things shifted. Daniel started protecting me from stress. He'd take client calls that were meant for me. "You're too busy with wedding planning," he'd say. "I've got this." He stopped copying me on important emails. Stopped inviting me to partner meetings. "They're boring anyway. I'm doing you a favor." My friends started fading away too. When I'd make plans, Daniel would have something else scheduled. "I thought we were having dinner with my parents tonight." Or, "I already told Trevor we'd help him move." If I protested, he'd get quiet, hurt. I thought we wanted to spend time together. My college roommate, Maya, tried to warn me. She pulled me aside at a birthday party. "Harper, I barely see you anymore. And when I do, you seem different. Smaller somehow." I laughed it off. "I'm just busy with work and the wedding." But that night, I couldn't sleep. A week later, I got a message from a woman named Claire who'd worked at the firm before I started. "Be careful," she wrote. "He's done this before." The wedding planning consumed everything. Daniel was always too busy with work to help with decisions. Serena stepped in. She was a junior architect at the firm, bubbly and sweet. She volunteered to be my maid of honor when Maya couldn't because she'd moved to Seattle. Serena helped with everything: flowers, invitations, seating charts. She was at my apartment constantly. "I love weddings," she'd gush. "And you and Daniel are just perfect together." She started coming over when Daniel was home too. The 3 of us would have dinner, watch movies. It felt natural at first. Like I'd gained a sister. Then I came home early one afternoon and found Serena in my bedroom. She was standing in front of the mirror wearing my wedding dress. Not just holding it up. Actually wearing it, fully zipped. "Oh my God, Harper." She spun around, face flushed. "I'm so sorry. I just wanted to see how it felt. You know, for when I get married someday." She laughed nervously. "I'll take it off right now." I stood in the doorway, frozen. Something felt wrong. But she looked so embarrassed, so apologetic. "It's okay," I heard myself say. "Just be careful with it." I couldn't shake the image of Serena in my dress. That night, I mentioned it to Daniel. "Don't you think that was strange?" He was scrolling through his phone, barely looking up. "What was strange?" "Serena trying on my wedding dress. Without asking." He sighed, putting down his phone with an exaggerated motion. Harper, she's your maid of honor. She's excited. You're being paranoid. I'm not paranoid. It was weird. You're stressed. The wedding is making you see problems that aren't there. He stood up. Maybe you need to talk to someone. A therapist or something. Every concern I raised got twisted back to me. I was overworking myself. I was insecure. I was letting wedding stress make me irrational. 2 weeks later, I found a lipstick-stained coffee mug in Daniel's car. Bright red. Bold. Not a shade I'd ever wear.
Daniel, whose is this?
He glanced at it, shrugged. Probably from when I gave Serena a ride last week.
Her car was in the shop. Serena was in your car?
Harper, seriously? She needed help. What was I supposed to do? Say no? The next day, Daniel came home with roses. 24 red roses in a crystal vase. I'm sorry, he said, setting them on the kitchen counter. I've been distant. Work has been crazy.
You deserve better.
He pulled me close. Let's take a trip. Just you and me. Get away for a few days before the wedding.
You deserve to relax.
His touch was gentle again. Familiar. This was the Daniel I'd fallen in love with. The one who noticed when I needed something. Where would we go? I asked, wanting desperately to believe things could be normal again. Anywhere you want. I'll book it tonight. That evening, I felt hopeful for the first time in weeks. Maybe Maya and Claire were wrong. Maybe I was being paranoid. I started packing the next morning, pulling out my suitcase and choosing outfits.
That's when I saw the envelope on Daniel's dresser.
Plane tickets. 2 of them. I pulled them out, smiling. Then I read the names. Daniel Morrison and Serena Hayes. Not Harper. Serena. The trip was in 3 days. The same weekend he'd suggested we go away together. I confronted him that night. I threw the tickets on the table between us. Explain this. Daniel barely glanced at them. A clerical error. I must have mixed up the names when I was booking. A clerical error? Daniel, these are printed tickets. With her name on them. He laughed. Actually laughed. Harper, you're being ridiculous. I'll call and get it fixed. But he never did. Instead, he posted a photo on social media that night. The caption read, "Can't wait to marry my best friend." The photo was of him at his desk, working. But in the corner of the frame, cropped so only her shoulder and blonde hair were visible, was Serena. The comments flooded in. Congratulations. So happy for you. Can't wait for the wedding. I stared at that photo for an hour. The next morning at work, Trevor cornered me by the elevators. "Don't embarrass him," Trevor said quietly, his face close to mine. His breath smelled like coffee. "If you make a scene, if you try to back out now, you'll regret it." Is that a threat? It's advice. From a friend. He smiled, but his eyes were cold. Daniel's worked too hard to let you ruin this. I wanted to walk away, to pack my things and leave. But when I met with a lawyer that week, the reality crushed me. The house we'd bought together was in both our names, but Daniel had handled all the paperwork. If I backed out now, I'd lose my down payment, my savings, everything. My parents had already paid deposits for the venue, the catering, the photographer. Thousands of dollars they couldn't afford to lose. "If you leave now, you'll be financially devastated," the lawyer said. "The timing is terrible." I was trapped. Daniel knew it too. That's why he was so confident, so casual about the tickets, about Serena, about everything. He knew I couldn't leave. That night, I sat in our living room while Daniel slept. I thought about calling Maya, about telling my parents, But what would I say? That my fiancé was having an affair with my maid of honor? That everyone at work knew? That his best man was threatening me? Without proof, I'd sound paranoid. Unstable. Exactly how Daniel had been painting me for months. So I stayed quiet. And I started planning. The wedding eve arrived. My dress hung in the closet. My makeup trial was done. Everything was ready. Daniel was distant that evening, texting constantly. When I asked who he was talking to, he said, "Work stuff," without looking up. He kissed me goodnight around 10.
"See you at forever," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes.
I tried to sleep but couldn't. At midnight, I got up and walked through our apartment, looking at the life we'd built. The furniture we'd picked out together. The photos on the walls. All of it felt like someone else's life now. I didn't know that just 12 hours later, everything would explode. I didn't know that Trevor was setting up a live stream, testing angles and lighting. I didn't know that Daniel and Serena were already at a hotel, preparing for their own ceremony. I didn't know that my forever was ending before it even started. I just knew that something was terribly wrong. And I was right. Now, standing in my apartment with shattered coffee mug cleaned up and the live stream still playing on my phone, I watched it again. And again. Each time, I saw new details. The way Trevor positioned himself perfectly in frame, smiling at the camera. The way Daniel's parents sat in the front row, dressed in formal attire. The way Serena's dress, the expensive one she'd claimed was just for fun, fit her perfectly. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. Meticulously. They'd chosen today specifically. One day before our scheduled wedding. One day before all those deposits became non-refundable. One day before my humiliation would be complete. But watching it over and over, something shifted inside me. The shock burned away, leaving something colder. Clearer. If they could plan this, then I could plan something better. I opened my laptop. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I pulled up my work files, my personal documents, everything I'd need. Then I called the firm's HR department and left a message. "This is Harper Lowe. I need to schedule a meeting. It's urgent." Monday morning, I returned to work. I wore a gray suit, minimal makeup, kept my head down. The office was buzzing with whispers. Everyone knew. Daniel had made sure of that. He and Serena strutted through the halls together, her left hand prominently displaying a ring. My ring. The one he'd shown me at the jeweler 6 months ago. "How are you holding up?" someone asked in the break room. I gave a weak smile. "I'm managing. Just trying to focus on work." That's what they expected. The devastated ex-fiancé, too broken to fight back. Too humiliated to cause trouble. I played the part perfectly. That afternoon, I found an unmarked envelope on my desk. Inside were copies of emails. Dozens of them. Communications between Daniel and various clients, all sent from my email address. Bills submitted under my name. Payments transferred to accounts I didn't recognize. At the bottom was a note. "Thought you should see what he's been doing. A friend." I didn't know who sent it, but I knew it was gold. I spent that night going through every email. The pattern was clear. For the past 2 years, Daniel had been using my credentials to bill clients. He'd submit invoices for work I'd done, but the payments went to his personal accounts. Every project I'd worked on, every design I'd created, he'd stolen the credit and the money. The promotion I'd earned wasn't real. It was a cover. A way to give me access to bigger projects so he could steal more. All those times he'd protected me from client calls, he was intercepting payments. All those meetings he'd excluded me from, he was presenting my work as his own. I pulled out my external hard drive and started copying files. Every email, every invoice, every project file with my digital signature. I organized them carefully, creating a timeline that showed exactly when each theft occurred. By sunrise, I had everything, but I couldn't move yet. If I went to the partners now, Daniel would spin it, say I was a vengeful ex, that I was unstable. I needed more. I needed patience. Weeks passed. I showed up to work every day, acting defeated. I even congratulated Serena one morning in the office kitchen. "Your dress was beautiful," I said. "Really stunning." She looked uncomfortable. "Harper, I'm sorry you found out that way. It just happened so fast." "These things do," I replied with a sad smile. She actually hugged me. Daniel watched from across the room, smirking. They thought they'd won. That's exactly what I needed them to think. The firm threw a party for a major account win. Everyone attended. Daniel gave a speech, thanking the team, without mentioning my name. Trevor got drunk. I found him by the bar around 11. "Harper," he slurred. "You're being really cool about all this. Daniel said you'd make it difficult." "What's done is done," I said. "Can't change the past." He laughed, leaning close. "You know what's funny? Daniel built this entire company on your designs. Every major project. All yours. And you just let him." I pulled out my phone, pretending to check a message. The recording app was running in my pocket. "That's quite a confession, Trevor." His eyes widened. I had Trevor's confession, but I needed one more piece. I created a fake client project, something ambitious, a mixed-use development worth millions. I sent Daniel the initial brief, claiming a new client had specifically requested him. "They want to move fast," I wrote. "Can you handle the preliminary designs?" Daniel took the bait immediately. He spent 2 weeks working on it, using files from my computer that I deliberately left accessible. What he didn't know was that every file had a digital watermark. My name, my credentials, my copyright embedded in the code. When he submitted the designs to what he thought was a client, he was actually sending them to a corporate auditor I'd contacted, an independent firm that specialized in intellectual property theft. They confirmed what I already knew. The designs were mine. The watermarks were mine. And Daniel had submitted them under his name. I had him. Completely. The auditor asked if I wanted to press charges. "Not yet," I said. "I need you to do something first." The corporate auditors contacted Sterling Architecture's board directly. They didn't mention my name. They simply said they discovered irregularities in billing practices and intellectual property documentation. An internal audit was announced on a Friday afternoon. Daniel panicked. I watched him from across the office, saw the color drain from his face as he read the email. He immediately called Trevor, then Serena. Both meetings were frantic, whispered. He thought a competitor had betrayed him. Or maybe Trevor. Never me. I kept working, kept my head down. When the auditors arrived the following week, I cooperated fully, providing access to my files and records. Everything they needed was already organized. They spent 3 days interviewing staff, reviewing documents, comparing signatures. Serena started to crack. I saw her arguing with Daniel in the parking lot. Her voice carried through my open window. "You said this was clean. You said we were safe." "Shut up," Daniel hissed. "Don't say anything to anyone." But it was too late. The auditors had already found everything. The stolen designs. The fraudulent billing. All of it. And they'd traced it directly to Daniel. I arranged to meet Trevor for coffee. "I need closure," I told him over text. "Just a conversation. Then I'll move on." He agreed, probably relieved that I wasn't causing trouble. We met at a quiet cafe downtown. I ordered tea. He ordered whiskey.
I'm sorry about how things went down, he started.
But you have to understand, Daniel and Serena just connected.
It wasn't planned.
I pulled out my phone and showed him the live stream screenshots. You sent me this link, Trevor.
Was that an accident?
His face went pale. I don't know what you mean. The live stream of their wedding. You sent it to me by mistake, remember?
Wrong link.
He shifted in his seat. Harper, I was just trying to help Daniel. He wanted to move on.
You were holding him back.
By stealing my work?
By committing fraud.
His eyes darted around. I don't know anything about that.
Really?
Because I have a recording of you saying Daniel built the company on my designs. I played 30 seconds of the audio. His own drunken voice admitting everything. Where did you get that?
Your confession. At the party. You were very forthcoming.
I leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to write down everything you know about Daniel's fraud. Every project. Every payment. Everything. Or I send this recording to the board. Trevor wrote everything. 3 pages of detailed confession. How Daniel had been stealing my work since I started. How Serena had helped by distracting me. How Trevor had facilitated meetings with clients using my designs under Daniel's name. I compiled everything. Trevor's confession. The recordings. The financial evidence showing payment transfers. The watermarked designs. The emails from my anonymous helper. I created a detailed report with timestamps, exhibits, and supporting documentation. Then I sent it to every member of the board, every partner at the firm, every investor Daniel had pitched to using my stolen work. I sent it at midnight on a Sunday. By Monday morning, the firm was in chaos. Daniel arrived at 8 and was immediately escorted to a conference room. Partners were yelling. Phones were ringing. Clients were calling to withdraw contracts. I sat at my desk, calm, working on a new design. At 9:30, Daniel burst into the office area. His eyes found mine. He crossed the room in 4 strides, stopping at my desk. His hands were shaking. "What did you do?" he whispered. Everyone was watching now. I looked up at him. I told the truth. The board suspended Daniel that afternoon. Then they fired him the next morning. 3 major clients withdrew their contracts, citing ethical concerns. The firm's reputation was damaged, but contained. They issued a public statement condemning Daniel's actions and promising full restitution to me. Serena resigned before she could be fired. She tried to call me twice. I never answered. Daniel's investors pulled funding from a side project he'd been developing. His professional reputation was destroyed. And Serena left him 3 weeks later when she discovered he'd been messaging other women the entire time they were together, including during their honeymoon. I got a call from an unexpected number. Unknown. I answered anyway. "Harper? It's Claire.
The woman who warned you."
I remembered her message. "Be careful. He's done this before. I wanted you to know," she continued. "He did the same thing to me 5 years ago. Stole my work. Took credit. When I tried to fight back, he destroyed my credibility. Thank you for finally stopping him." We talked for an hour. She'd rebuilt her career in another city. She was happy now. Successful. "It gets better," she promised. "I know," I said. "It already has." Daniel showed up at my apartment on a Tuesday night. I saw him through the peephole, disheveled and desperate. I opened the door but left the chain on. "What do you want?" "Harper, please. Let me explain." His voice cracked. "You ruined me. Everything I built is gone." "Everything you stole, you mean?"
He slammed his hand against the door.
I made you. You were nobody when I met you. I gave you opportunities. I promoted you. You used me.
There's a difference.
We can fix this. We can tell them it was a misunderstanding, that we both worked on the projects together. I stared at him through the gap. This man I'd almost married. This man who'd systematically dismantled my confidence while stealing my work. No, Daniel.
You ruined yourself the moment you decided I was worth less than you.
I closed the door. But before I locked it, I slid a document under the gap. Transfer of intellectual property rights. Every design he'd stolen, officially reclaimed. Legally mine again. Sign it, I said through the door, or I press criminal charges. I heard him pick it up. Heard him leave. The next day, the signed document arrived via courier. I launched Harper Low Design 6 months after the audit. My own firm. Small but strategic. I used the reclaimed designs as my portfolio, showing what I'd really created without anyone stealing credit. The clients Daniel had betrayed reached out immediately. They wanted to work with me, the real architect behind the designs they'd admired. My first contract was for $2 million. My second was for 5. Within a year, I had 12 employees and an office downtown with windows overlooking the river. Every morning, I walked in and knew it was mine. Really mine. Built on my work. My talent. My name. The industry noticed. Architecture journals featured my projects. I won awards. I was invited to speak at conferences. Everything Daniel had pretended to be, I actually became. Maya flew in from Seattle for my 1-year anniversary celebration. I knew you'd land on your feet, she said. I'm just sorry I wasn't there when you needed me. You warned me, I said.
That was enough.
The opening gala for my firm's biggest project happened on a Friday in October. 300 guests. Partners, clients, press. I wore a black dress and smiled for cameras. The project was a sustainable housing development that would change the city's skyline. My design. My vision. Fully realized. Halfway through the evening, I saw him. Daniel. Standing near the entrance, wearing a wrinkled suit, looking lost. Security approached, but I waved them off. I walked over, champagne in hand. This is a private event, Daniel. I just wanted to see it. The building. It's beautiful. His eyes were hollow. You always were talented. Yes, I was. I am. He looked around at the celebration, the success. I'm sorry, Harper. For all of it. I know you are. Now you need to leave. Trevor appeared then, stumbling slightly. He'd been drinking. Harper, he called out. Harper, I need to tell everyone something. He climbed onto a chair. The room went quiet. This man, he pointed at Daniel, built his entire career on stolen work. I helped him do it. Harper Low was the real architect all along. The crowd murmured. Security moved forward. We all knew, Trevor continued. And we let it happen. I'm sorry. Daniel's face flushed red as security escorted both of them out. The guests watched in silence. The morning after the gala, I woke up in my apartment. The same apartment where I'd watched that live stream 2 years ago. Where my world had shattered. But it didn't feel like the same place anymore. I made coffee in a new mug. Got dressed. Drove to my office. The sun was rising over the river, painting everything gold. I hung a framed quote on the wall behind my desk. Something I'd written myself during the darkest days. Forever starts when you stop waiting for someone else to give it to you. My assistant arrived at 8 with the day's schedule. 3 client meetings. a pitch for a new civic center, an interview with a design magazine. I sat at my desk and looked out at the skyline, buildings I'd helped create, spaces where people would live and work and build their own forevers. The live stream that destroyed me had become the evidence that freed me. Trevor's mistake had been the beginning of my real life. Daniel had promised me forever. Instead, he'd given me something better. Himself as a cautionary tale. And me, finally, completely myself. I opened my laptop and started designing. My future. On my terms. Forever.